keeping on Mars, or maybe the moon, or maybe somewhere out there beyond our own solar system. And I don't know, maybe someday it could happen, but not if we don't first keep ourselves safe here.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. And I think coming into that, you talked a lot around the planetary boundaries that are needed. And I think it might have seemed that it was radical because basically ecological concepts in our planet are relatively new. I mean, the concept of extinction, for example, has around 200 years on the planet also. I remember reading about the first person that discovered the mammoth. They would share it around the naturalists and the scientists, and they would say, that's an animal that has to be around here. And that was 1783. They're like, there's an animal that has to be around here. No animal has ever disappeared or gone extinct. So ecological concepts like extinction are relatively new compared to ideologies and beliefs that have thousands and thousands of years on the planet. And I think we just started to understand planetary boundaries. We just started to understand how populations affected humans. And for example, we started to understand the concept of invasive species that affect biodiversity loss. We started to understand concepts like habitat loss. And I think even till today, we have a lot of concepts that we have not grasped yet ecologically. And I want to ask you this because 10,000 years ago, as humans, we reached the first 1 million persons. We were 1 million people for the first time. In 1471, we were 500 million people. Just 200 years ago, in 1801, we reached for the first billion people. And in just 200 years, we've reached 8 billion people. But now to talk about our population, it seemed radical. But I want to ask you, does population matter?
Of course it does. Our prosperity has come at the cost of everybody else. I mean, truly, look at about half of the land is occupied by agriculture, displacing how many other organisms, creatures that have no choices about where to live. We have taken and diverted fresh water for our purposes at the cost of those creatures who require that fresh water as much as we do. But we have arbitrarily, it would seem, from their point of view, just taken and diverted for our singular purposes. And, you know, it is only perhaps right about now, which is why being a 21st century human being is probably to be the luckiest human ever to have arrived in time. Because we could not know the impact that we were having. Earth seemed, I mean, nature, we call nature natural resources, as if everything is there as a commodity for us to use, free goods to take, whether it's trees or air or water, birds, mammals, fish, squid, you name it. It's just, let's just take, and we've taken. And while our numbers have gone like this, everybody else, except for a few, I think cockroaches have probably prospered. Fleas, oh yeah. And rats, they love what humans have done. Houseflies, there are a number of species that say, go humans, go, because you've made Earth more habitable. We've increased their prosperity. Cows, I mean, if you just look how many cows there are, yes, we raise them so that we can eat them, but consider how many cows there are today as compared to 1492, when you say that was about 500 million people.
Yeah.
And when I came on board, there were 2 billion people. I have personally witnessed, quadruple the number. Imagine if we had 4 times the number of people in this room, which is the direction we're going if we keep consuming nature, but maybe not. There are limits to how much nature can yield and still have a habitable planet. That's what the planetary boundaries concept is about. How much can we, of nature, can be converted? And it looks as though we've already gone over the line in some areas. And there's some areas that we don't even know because of the magnitude of what we still don't know about. I mean, this is the greatest era of discovery, of exploration, especially with the ocean. The deeper you go, the less you know, but the more new discoveries we're finding. That was the conclusion of the Census of Marine Life, the 10-year study that tried to figure out how many species live in the sea. And we're just beginning to grasp the magnitude of the diversity of life in the sea as compared to what's on the land. And what has already been lost since I began exploring the ocean. I don't think this is cause and effect. Since I began exploring the ocean, half the coral reefs are gone, 90% of the sharks. But I am a witness to this era of loss, of change in the ocean. And it's only like right about now that we're starting to not only notice, but realize if the ocean fails, we fail. The ocean governs climate. Even the scientists of the 1950s did not take the ocean into account, or the 60s, or the 70s, or even right now. They're just beginning to incorporate the ocean as the principal driver of planetary temperature, of the habitability of the planet. The ocean is like 97% of the biosphere where life occurs. Because we're terrestrial, we have focused throughout all of our existence on that 3%, because that's where we live. But even there, consider how much we have converted of nature to support our prosperity. But it's only in the last half century or so that we have, in a sense, done to the ocean what it has taken us thousands of years to do to the land. Why or how? Because of the technology that has enabled us to scale up extraction of life, of minerals from the ocean, and to create this vast amount of trash, plastics and chemicals that we're putting into the ocean that is, again, scaled up dramatically since what they call the Anthropocene, 1950, the middle of the 20th century. My watch. I first put my face in the water with scuba in 1953. And since then, I've had thousands of hours exploring, living underwater, using submarines. And I feel in some ways like you say, the astronaut who comes back and doesn't tell anybody what they see. I want everyone to see. I wish everyone could go. And some of you are going out there. You are beginning this great era of exploration, but we have to hurry. Time is of the essence in terms of taking the knowledge that now exists and converting it into the decisions, the choices we make about what do we do? How do we live? We can't go on at an industrial scale trying to feed people with wildlife, whether it's birds or elephants or tuna. These are all wild animals. We are beginning to understand the importance of rewilding the land. I mean, I'm so encouraged to see, fortunes being invested in planting trees. 1 trillion trees, what a good idea if they're the right trees in the right place at the right time. And restocking, restoring wild animals to the land. But we are subsidizing with billions of dollars the de-wilding of the ocean, the industrial extraction of wild animals from pole to pole, and now in the deep sea, and taking on deep sea mining because of the technology that did not exist when I was a child now is within our grasp. We have the power to kill, or we have the power to care. We have a choice. What is the future we want?
Thank you so much, Sylvia, and thank you for answering that question, which I think it's a very sensible topic also with our species, understanding and really grasping our concept that we are one more species here in this planet that's amplifying its distribution range. And even if we were to live in sustainable ways, we still have nutrient requirements that come basically from the land. We still need nutrients, we still need basic requirements, even if we live in the most sustainable way possible to sustain ourselves. So population, it's an important factor in that. And